Today's October 6th, 2023.
And what significance do we have today?
A live concert that we filmed. Yes.
So the project's called Lead Me On Live 1989. I think she's got the actual CD in her hand. She might want to show it to you.
There we go.
Da, da, da.
There was no photo shoot for this, so I want to say thank you very much to Carla Rafferty, who took
Yes.
that picture like somebody came to a concert with a good camera in 1989. Carla, you were way ahead of the game. Thank you for that.
And it was probably on film, not digital. So she probably had to go to, a photo place and develop it, not knowing. That's the thing, like then you didn't know if you got a good picture.
Right.
Until a couple of days later, know. So
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, Jim, will you let the dog out? She's
Yep.
scratching the back end floor. It's a power thing. In, out.
all right, well, so there's 18 tracks on this record,
Okay.
which is most of the concert, because I think there were some other songs that you all did, some little breakaway things. But only a couple were ever released back when Lead Me On was 20 for you all to hear. What just comes up? First thoughts about that tour, all the people you had on stage, like the energy around it. You can hear that on the recording, just like buzzing energy.
Yes.
What comes to mind for you?
Well, this morning, I was checking your videos of each one because you would send, we filmed this concert and the main camera, which was out front, got bumped. So it had me like from chest down. It was unusable. And it was out of focus. That was the main camera. So Brian has pieced together 4 cameras that were sometimes working, sometimes not, with no time code. So you're basically just following people's lips.
I'm watching lips. I'm like, okay, that's my mark.
We can use that. I know. Golly, labor of love on your part. And so we all live in the now, but what a rare opportunity to walk down memory lane with audio.
Yes.
That was crazy. So I started the day. We had house guests last night, told them goodbye. I came in, and the dog and the cat and I made a fresh cup of coffee, and I listened to the first 4 tracks.
Oh, cool.
And what I loved was just a week ago Sunday, I saw Warren Ham,
Really?
who is singing all the stratospheric male stuff. He is touring with Ringo Starr.
Oh, in the All-Star Band?
In the All-Star Band. So Ringo was inducted into the Musicians Hall of Fame in Nashville.
That's right. I read that.
And all of us were there, clapping. But it's so interesting, just everyone's journey. And what we did, we just captured 1 year, 1 day. And life goes on. We've all gone on to other things. Yes. But it was just so lovely to look back on that beautiful musical moment. And I was texting Greg Morrow, who is such a great drummer. He and I have played off and on together through the years. And most recently, he's been out with, who's he been out with?
Joe Bonamassa.
Joe Bonamassa. Thank you. He's so good. And anyway, but to capture Greg live.
Yes. With a great mullet, by the way.
With a great mullet. in his 20s. He was freakish. I remember one time being in sound check, and I was listening to a Sonny Landreth song, great slide player. And there's a Sonny Landreth song called Congo Square that the rhythm behind that is, you'll just get unhinged. And we're in sound check.
Okay.
And at the time, Mike Brignardello was playing bass with me, and I'm playing Congo Square, and I can't get enough of it. And Greg Morrow's on drums. This has been in the last 15 years. And Mike does his nose like that, and I said, "What are you pointing to Greg for?" And he said, and he pointed to my phone. And I said, "You played drums with Sonny Landreth on Congo Square?" And to me, it's just a reminder of, in the music world, everybody eventually knows everybody.
Right.
And a lot of people play with a lot of people. And I just love the first song. Within that first song, I heard Donna McElroy. She just retired from being a vocal professor at Berkeley in Boston. Yes.
Huh.
And she's here in Nashville this weekend performing at Fisk University. She was one of the Jubilee singers. And it's just like everybody's life covers a huge span.
Yes.
we just captured one night.
One moment at a time, right?
Yeah. And all the step outs. Michael W., Gary Chapman, Chris Rodriguez, Warren Ham, Donna McElroy, Terry McMillan. It's just like on the first song.
Yes.
You're going, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking about community, that was a tight-knit group. There were 10 of you on stage, including you, which is a lot of musicians to try and corral, and probably weren't using click tracks to keep everybody together. So it had to be kind of like everybody just dialed in.
Okay.
So the musicianship is amazing on the record, but also the community and the talent of the people on the stage with you. It kind of, I would assume it felt like this is your family up there, because everyone was just so dialed in.
Yes.
And you looked like you all were just having the time of your life.
We were.
Up there.
We were. And we were all just as fit, stamina-wise.
Yeah.
You know, musically, vocally. Yeah, it was just so much fun to capture.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And you told me, and I love saying this, everyone from that band is still alive except for Terry McMillan.
Yeah.
And I was at his service years ago. And what a gift that you sent this video to Peggy, his wife, and that his kids.
Right. Get to see their dad in the prime, really, of what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know, because he was such a sought-after musician on everybody's record.
Yes.
And, I mean, how fortunate and blessed and lucky you were to have that group of people. I mean, like, talk about first call players.
Yes.
I mean, every one of them.
Right, yeah. And we were all such a mess. And Peggy, if you're listening to this, I hope it's okay for me to tell you this, but, you know, Terry had just gotten out of rehab when he went on the road with us.
That's right.
And I just love that he was just smack dab in community. And we're all just like, come on, we're all a bunch of rascals. We're just doing the best we can. And yeah, it was just, but so much support. And that's really, at every stage of the game, that's what Road Family feels like.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's park on Terry for a second, because the first video we released today is Wait for the Healing. It's one of my favorite songs from the Leave Me On record. But there is a moment when Terry just consumes the arena. Right?
Yeah.
Talk about that, seeing that every night. I'm sure it was just like you're shaking your head like, I can't believe he's superhuman what he's doing.
Yes.
So,
right. Well, he was a great singer, great percussionist, great harmonica player. And yeah, he takes this harmonica solo. And really, you know, he took up a lot of space, and he knew how to fill that space.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope that's findable for people that want to see it. And
It's all on YouTube. Easy to find.
Yeah, and we've dedicated the project to his memory. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And also, here's the other crazy thing. So, Gary Chapman and I, we were married at the time, and we've communicated about this project coming out. And so all these years, like way into my second family, decades into it, I have been storing this in a climate-controlled storage every month, paying rent. And finally, you know, at this point in life, it's like, let's clean out the closet. And to pull out all that old film and the tapes, it was acetate, right?
Yeah, it was not digital recording.
Not
I don't
digital.
think it was all like,
So the multi-tracks, it was analog. We had to bake the tapes to make them transferable.
That's right.
Because they'd absorbed moisture over time, even though we had carefully preserved them. And so, like, this whole thing is such a labor of love. Yeah. And anyway, I don't know where all that was going.
This is a good time to call out the fabulous Steve Beischer.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Who took all of those, you know, multi-tracks and tapes, and it was kind of like, remember George Martin said when they were doing a Beatles record, they had cut tapes up, threw them up in the air, and then he had to assemble it. It was kind of like that for Steve. He had all of this stuff, and like, how do I put this puzzle together?
Yes.
Which they were not always stored well. They were the last 20 years, but the first 10.
They were not. Okay,
They were not.
Yes.
So it was definitely some magicianship.
Right. And I
on his
referred
side.
to Gary, and I want to go back and say, when we were in the middle of this tour, we knew it was magical.
Yeah.
We knew that. And, we reached out, is a record company interested? Is a film company interested?
Mm-hmm.
Well, life was busy, and nobody was interested. And so he and I dug into our pockets, and we paid for this whole thing. And then for, years, we were still together for years after that, and we were like, we didn't do anything with that. Let's store it. And so it was so much fun,
Yeah.
just to go, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that didn't wind up in a dumpster.
Yes.
Like so many things do. And anyway, so hats off to everybody. Mike Blanton, Dan Harrell, Gary Chapman, Chris Taylor, who mixed sound for us back then. And then, he was snatched up by everybody. Janet Jackson, he toured for a long time. He's so many. Barbara Streisand. I was like, we started off like in churches. And then people would hear Terry's mixes and they were, I want you.
Amazing.
Not Terry, Chris Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like all those decades of relationship.
Sure.
And just they're like frozen in one night.
So this recording's been in the vault, as you say, for over 30 years. So when you first started hearing mixes come back, sometimes music can just take you right back to that moment in time. When you were hearing it 30 some years later, what were like some of the first thoughts? Like, could it transport you right back to Texas at that night, or?
Oh yeah. I forgot how large our audiences were. I still tour now. I tour in theaters.
Yeah.
It's a lot more laid back. I'm
Yes.
right on time. Feels fantastic for now. I had, it just catapulted me back into the feeling of all of that. Like what came off stage. We had worked so hard for that presentation, but what came back to us from the audience was equally as powerful.
Yeah.
And it's just like we all fed off each other all night long. And I was listening to the recording and I was going, that was a big hall. You can't fake a lot of people just excited. Nobody was saying, like sometimes with TV filming, okay, everybody clap really loud. We're about
Applause
to.
sign.
Yeah. Yeah. We were all just young. We all had it in there.
Yeah.
We were all just wired for sound and wired for life, and a lot of us young in our faith and just like,
Yeah.
and all that was just, that's what came right back. And another thing, technically, like I look back on those years, and just from a technical standpoint, I looked at some of the monitor setups, and I moved around so much on stage. Now everybody's like high class in-ear monitors.
Yeah.
I've got them too. My monitor system back in 1989, I had a wax earplug in my ear. That was it. Which, by the way, probably has saved my hearing.
Well, sure.
And
in arenas like that, it's got to be really loud.
yeah, and all those amps on stage. Yeah, it was just fun. And then I think about just so many fun memories. But mostly that it's like that figure eight that it felt like infinity of energy, and that was beautiful.
So when I was going through the film footage and watching it, it's a massive arena. I don't know, 20,000 people or what. There was just so many people. And I think one of the gifts that you have is no matter if it's one-on-one or there's 20,000 people, you can't see all 20,000 people. But what I was watching on like Everywhere I Go, especially, you had this moment where you're like, you brought 20,000 people into one-on-one experience with 3 words, dip and sway.
Oh, yeah, it was fun.
And you said that was kind of an intentional thing because so many people experience concerts as a group, like from youth groups or, just churches or whatever. And so it was fun to watch, like all of a sudden everybody's in the same motion all at one time.
Yes.
And it was a unified thing. 20,000 people all came down to one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's great. I'm glad we captured that. I mean, that continues to be the beautiful thing about music.
Yeah.
And no matter how old you are, if a song is playing and you're in earshot of it,
Yeah.
and it moves you, you can't help it. You kind of start. And if somebody next to you hears that, it can be a street musician,
Yes.
and you're walking down the street in a big city, and suddenly you're singing along with somebody and walking. Music is such a beautiful unifier.
It does unify for sure.
Yes.
Okay, so we've talked about "Wait for the Healing," which is the song that came out today. By the way,
I just feel like I need to high five you for all your hard work.
there you go. Woo!
On
We
this.
did it. Just so they know, every day starting Monday, we're taking weekends off because we do need the rest. Every day, a new video is going to come out.
Oh, and today the first one came
Today
out?
the first one came
Okay.
out. So then Monday, then every day after that for then the second week, we're going to put 2 out a day. So
Okay.
15 in all. You'll get to see pretty much everything that's on the recording except for 2 songs, which we just didn't have the footage for.
Right.
But that'll be fun to watch. We've already seen comments from, I was there at that show. I was in Fort Worth, that show. I can't believe it's taking me back right to that moment. And so it was
That's great.
pivotal for a lot of people. And that album especially was pivotal for, a lot of people that listened to it, went to the show, but it was also pivotal for you.
Mm-hmm.
That was a turn of some kind, from where it had been to where it was going. Any thoughts about just the Lead Me On? You did a lot of songs from Lead Me On in that show.
Right. Well, it's interesting. Way back when, every year was a new record,
Yes.
and that was just the pace of. It was just the pace of life. I mean, even when I was in college, like I look back and go, I can't even imagine having that much energy. And it wasn't until I had my first child with Lead Me On, and so Matt was a baby. He turned 1 right after we left on that tour, and we toured until he was about to turn 2. He was 11 months old when we left, and we would come home, change clothes, but and then after that, the more kids I had, the longer stretches between records. Life takes up room, and so everything was so focused on music at that time.
Mm.
And so, but way back when we would tour, a tour was to introduce new music. Oh, here's the new record.
Yes.
And then we'd do old songs. So clearly we were still in that phase of time.
Presenting the new
Yeah,
record,
yeah.
So I want to hit one more song, which is quite special to me. I think this morning, just watching people comment, this song has come up a couple of times. It's the arrangement of Angels, which is like, I don't know, it's like Pink Floyd, symphonic, Queen. It's just epic. Because people know the song Angels,
Right.
it just starts out. But
Yeah.
this intro with McPherson on that guitar just wailing and all the lights and everything, like, how did you come up with that arrangement? And
Yes. I did not come up with that arrangement, and
Okay.
I'm guessing, I'm sure Michael had something to do with it. I'm sure Gary had something to do with it. I'm sure Jerry McPherson had something. Brown. Oh, of course, Brown Bannister, my producer.
yeah.
Yes, I'm sure Brown's brains were in there. Yes, but here's one thing I noticed is music, when no one is singing, also creates its own experience.
Yeah.
And way back when, all of us were more accustomed to space in life. Space matters. And that I did feel that, and I think that was one of the, I don't know if it was an encore song but it's toward the end of the show. And to me, whether you're hearing it or seeing it, so much of just music playing and nobody singing, but just the dynamic is just to provide space to feel it all, to experience it all, for your own thoughts, for your own yes, or your own
Yeah.
Or, yeah, and I was just so reminded. And I've always felt that way about music. You know, Christmas records, I always try to include instrumentals because
right.
everything, like I always in my head say, if there were no words, what does the life I'm living say? And with that I was going, okay, yeah, music, just space matters. Even if it's like headbanging, rah, all that kind of stuff. And man, we had some great players to fill up that non-verbal space with killer music.
Yes. And who comes to mind? I mean, all of them were just such amazing musicians, but let's turn our attention to Warren Ham. Like the jack of all trades, really.
Yes.
Like could sing
Yes.
anything
Yep.
in any key,
Yeah.
in any octave,
Yes.
basically.
And then harmonica, and then flute on 1974. He's just like, I mean, saxophone.
Saxophone.
Yeah.
You know, he was, I mean, so integral because for every song, it seemed like he had something new he was going to pull out of his box. And like, I'll just add this to this song. And it
Yes.
was perfect.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we're going to leave with this thought. It does take a village to get a band together, music together, project together,
Yes.
a tour together, right?
Yes.
And this project for sure, it's just been fun to see how many hands have touched this. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I saw this tour when I was a lot younger, and I just remember it just was vast. I just remember walking away going, "This was a big ordeal," and thinking it was before I was in the business, but I was thinking, I bet there's probably 50 people that had to put this on.
Yeah, probably more than that. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
big the tour was, but it was a lot. And I know we had a sponsor as well. Tree Torn was our sponsor. And I was digging through the attic. I have one pair of Tree Torn tennis shoes still in the box, unworn. Which, by the way, I would like for us to make some kind of a, I don't know, giveaway. One last pair of Tree Torns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'd give them to my kids if anybody had the same size foot, but I had so many kids after that, my feet grew. But yeah, it just takes a village.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, again, hats off to everybody on stage. Michael W. Smith and Gary Chapman and I, that working relationship, that friendship, all of that, and then Brown Bannister, Mike Blanton, Dan Harrell. I mean, there were people from whom the ideas came out, the ripples came out from there. And anyway, so grateful for everybody.
Awesome. Well, thanks for watching. I'll leave you with this last thought. As these videos come out,
The editor was awesome, working with very little.
Thank you. Well, there you go. What was also fun to watch was there had to be a bus that just carried hair product because
A lot of hair.
a lot of hair, Amy. I mean, you got a lot of hair back then. It was big. Hats were big. Jerry and you were wearing hats. Smitty had the great mullet. I mean, there's a lot of hair on this video, which is fun because those of us that tried to emulate those things, it's just like coming back home again. Trying to get that hair as high as we could get. So.
Yeah. Let's not start a trend.
Let's not do that again. That's right. But anyway, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Leave Me On Live's out today. Hope you enjoy it.
Have a great day.